Come before winter. Why, friend, before winter? Because when winter sets in, the season for navigation closed in the Mediterranean. And it was dangerous for ships to venture out to sea. You have only to read the 28th chapter of the book of Acts, the story of Paul's last shipwreck, to see how dangerous it was. If young Timothy waits until winter, he will have to wait until spring. And Paul has a premonition that he will not last out the winter. So he says to the young servant of God, the time of my departure is at hand. The first stage of Paul's trial before the Roman tribunal had already passed. And things looked so bad for him that even 3 of his 4 companions in travel fled. And Luke, the physician, alone remained with him. Those were dark days in Rome, brothers and sisters. Known Christians had been murdered. Now they had the great Christian leader himself on trial. And it was even dangerous to be associated and to be seen with him. I personally would like to think that Timothy did not wait a single day after that letter from Paul reached him at Ephesus, but started out at once to Troas when he picked up the books and the old cloak at the house of Carpus. Then sailed past Samothrace to Neapolis, and thence travelled by the Aegean way across the plains of Philippi, and through Macedonia to the Adriatic, where he took ship to Brundisium, and then went up the Appian way to Rome, where he found Paul in prison. Read to the old servant of God the Old Testament scriptures, wrote his last letters, walked with him to the place of execution near the pyramid of Cestus, and saw him receive the crown of glory. Come, he says, Timothy, if you're coming, come before winter. He is fortunate if he has a few friends upon whom he can count to the uttermost. Paul had 3 such friends. The first friend of the 3, whose name needs no mention tonight, was the one who would be the friend of every man. the friend who sticketh closer than a brother, the friend who laid down his life for us. Bless his name forever, the lovely, sinless Son of God. The second was that man whose face is almost the first and almost the last that we see in this life, the physician. Paul had such a friend. Luke, the beloved physician, as he is affectionately called, and again he wrote in fond remembrance, only Luke is with me. The third of these friends was a Lycaonian youth who was half Hebrew and half Greek. Timothy was his name, and Paul lovingly calls him my son in the faith. When Paul had been stoned by the mob at Lystra in the highlands of Asia Minor and was dragged out of the city streets and left for dead, perhaps it was young Timothy who, when the night had come down and the passions of the mob subsided, went out of the city gates to search amid the stones and rubbish until he found the wounded, bleeding body of Paul, and putting his arm about the apostle's neck, wiped the blood stains from his face, poured wine down his lips, and then took him home to the house of his godly grandmother Louise and his pious mother Eunice. If you form a friendship in a shipwreck, you never forget the friend. The hammer of adversity wheels human hearts into an unbroken amalgamation. Paul and Timothy each had in each other a friend who was born for adversity. So he writes, and the tears is rolling down the old apostle's face. Timothy, son of your coming, come before winter. These months, these words have haunted me, because there is not only a natural meaning in them, there is also a spiritual meaning in them also. For instance, there are some things which will never be done unless they are done before winter. The winter will come and the winter will pass, and the flowers of the springtime will deck the breast of the earth and deck the graves of our opportunities, perhaps the grave of our dearest friend. There are golden gates tonight wide on this autumn night, but next November they will be forever shut. There are tides of opportunity running now at the flood. Next November they will be at an end. There are voices speaking tonight in Lurgan which a year from today will be silent unless it is done before winter. It will never be done. Brother, tonight, where is the payment of those promises you made to the Lord when you were in trouble? Sister, why can you not fulfill those vows you made unto the Lord when in that crisis situation He delivered you and helped you? Promises of more time given to His work, promises of zeal, promises of dedication, promises of faithfulness, promises of money, promises of more effort. The days, the months, the years are racing by, and time is so short and so fleeting. And the Spirit of God is calling to us in Lurgan, come, come before winter, because when winter comes, it will be too late. Now, why before winter? Well, could I say this tonight, that spring speaks of youth. the budding of the flowers and the trees. In fact, today I was surprised when I got up this morning. The house was so warm. I opened the windows, and I think some daffodils shot forth because it was so warm. The thought that spring had come. And spring tonight speaks of youth. I remember the time when I was full of spring. And 50 now. When you get 50, you're going over the hill. Spring speaks of youth. Then summer. That's what I'm in tonight. Summer speaks of maturity, full bloom. And then the autumn speaks of old age. And winter speaks of death and of darkness. That's why Jesus in John chapter 9 said, I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. And again he said, are there not 12 hours in the day? If a man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world. If a man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. In other words, there are opportunities and privileges and commissions that are only given to us in the day. But when night comes, those opportunities are dead. They're forever gone. So friend, tonight listening to me, do you hear the voice of the Spirit call? And he's saying, come. Come before winter. Remember that beautiful incident in the closing days of the Master. In fact, in 2 days, he would be on the cross. He was lodging in Bethany, having what they didn't realize was a farewell supper with his friends. Many a time I've thought about that home in Bethany. It was lovely. At least when he got there, he was looked after. Remember how he said to the scribe, if you want to follow me, you've got to realize this, the foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head. Many a night your master and mine, brother, lay in the open fields. And as I told my congregation tonight, there's many a night when I lie on my warm bed and hear the howl of the wind and the rain against the windows. And I've thought of my master. Many a night, no one even thought of opening a home to him. I love him tonight, and he's lovely. And you know, friend, this home at Bethany were good to him. You know, there was 2 sisters there, Martha and Mary. And you know, I have listened to servants of God over the years, a wee bit hard on Martha, because she was always fussing. I know there's nothing more irritating than a fussing woman. And I know that can annoy you. But I'll tell you this about her. All right, maybe she wasn't a great spiritual giant, but when the Master came into her home, she made sure he got something to eat. The pan was put on. I don't know if she knew how to make an Ulster fry, but I tell you, she fed him. And she showed her love to him. And you know, they were having this supper, and the Master was sitting in the other room by himself. The disciples were in the other room. They were debating among themselves while he was sitting alone in the other room, meditating what was going to happen to him in 2 days' time, when he would be extended on the cross, when the blood would flow from his side and from his wounds, and when he would give his life a ransom for many. Oh, it was some ordeal that he was going through. He was there meditating on this. Now the other sister, Mary, she was in love with him. And I feel when you're in love with someone, you can read their thoughts. Maybe she didn't understand all that was going on in her Master's heart, because he had forgiven her and he had changed her life. Do you know what she did? She went into her own little room and she pulled open the drawer and she took out a pound of spikenard ointment, very precious. They tell me that perfume today would be worth in the region of £5,000. Imagine you sisters buying perfume like that. I think you would wear it once a year. You would put it under your ear here or wherever, and that would be it. But she took out that pound of spikenard ointment, very precious, and broke the box and poured it upon his head. And you know, the debating disciples were debating, and they smelt the odor of that ointment. Martha, while she was cooking and fussing in the kitchen, the odor of that ointment came into the kitchen. Everyone was alert, because Mary had done something that was only reserved for kings and for princes. She came and broke the box over his head and worshipped him and told him how much she loved him. Let him see that he was the king of her life. How long is it, brother? How long is it, sister, since you took your private alabaster box of ointment, brought it to him, and broke it over his head? Oh, don't you remember the pompous indignation of the disciples? Judas started it. Oh, that could have been sold for 300 pence. That would have kept a man and his family and a couple of other families for a full year. That 300 pence could have been given to the poor, the old hypocrite. Not that he cared for the poor. And then the silly disciples, they joined in. All the church needs is a Judas to start moaning and a couple more to agree with him. I didn't hear many amen. That's all you need. And do you remember the master heard the debate? And he leapt to her defense, and this is what he said: let her alone. She had done what she could. She has come aforehand to anoint my body to the burying. Aforehand. Do you hear me tonight? Aforehand. That sounds like come before winter. Mary showed her love for her Lord while as yet he was alive. And what a lot of human appreciation comes too late. We delay our appreciations until our friends are dead. And then we say all kinds of beautiful things about them and heap the coffin lid with flowers. Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea brought 100 pounds weight of spices to anoint Jesus' body when it was dead. Ah, brother, sister, it would have helped the master if they had only declared their devotion sooner, because they were there that night in which he was tried, and they were silent. They could have leapt to his defense. But when he was dead, the two old men, Nicodemus, Joseph of Arimathea, broken-hearted, went to his cross and brought him down, laid him in that borrowed tomb. Oh yes, it was a beautiful act. But it was too late. Come before winter. When winter comes, it's too late. And if any of you as Christians are listening to me tonight, and you're going to do anything for God, in God's name, do it now. In God's name, do it tonight. In God's name, do it tomorrow. But don't wait the next year or the following year. You've promised and promised and promised. If you're going to give anything to God's work, if you're going to do anything for God's work, do it tonight. Come. Come before winter. Come before the heart is cold. Come before desire is failed. Come before life is over and probation ended, and you stand before God to give an account of the life that you've lived and the use of the opportunities that were given to you. In God's name tonight, come before winter. There is a legend. It's only a legend. Legend in the streets of Baghdad, and it goes like this. A merchant sent his servant to the market, but soon he returned trembling and greatly agitated, and said to his master, down in the marketplace I was jostled by a woman in the crowd. But when I turned around, I saw it was death that jostled me. She looked at me and made a threatening gesture. Master, he says, please lend me your horse, for I must hasten away to avoid her. I will ride to Samara, and there I will hide, and death will not find me. The merchant lent him his horse, and the servant galloped away in a cloud of dust. A little later, the merchant himself went to the marketplace and saw Death standing in the crowd. He said to her, "Why did you threaten my servant this morning? Why did you make a threatening gesture?" "That was not a threatening gesture," said Death. "It was only a start of surprise. I was astonished to see him in Baghdad, for I have an appointment with him tonight in Samaria." Only a legend. Only a legend out of the streets of Baghdad. But it paints a graphic picture of eternal realities for the Christ rejecter. For my friend, if Jesus tarry, we will keep that appointment. Winter will come. And when it does, let's be fully prepared for it and face it with courage and death. Because the Master that we'll love and serve tonight has taken the sting out of death and robbed the grave of its victory. I'm closing. Young man at 25 years of age, full of beans and buttermilk. Wish I was full of beans and buttermilk. But he took ill, mysterious disease, couldn't understand it, and he was dying. His mother said, "Pastor, will you go and see him?" There his friends was round the bed. "Billy, you'll be all right. You'll do well." I knew what the doctor said. Billy had no hope. "Be out to see the Blues. They're doing well. They're waiting on you, Billy." They all went away, and Billy says, "How can you, Pastor? Nice of you to come up. Looking forward to getting out of here." What would you do if you were me? Agree with him? "Aye, Billy, you're going to get out of here." I says, "Billy, I have something to tell you. You're never going to leave here alive." You think I smacked him in the face. "What?" I says, "Billy, your friends are deceiving you. They know the truth about you. Billy, you're unwell. You're not going to make it. Billy, the Blues are not important at the moment. Billy, it's no use. Billy, you've got to get right with God." Oh, I couldn't talk to him after that. I couldn't console him. Back the next day and I led him to Christ. But Billy went out into eternity. Who knows? Where will you be in a year's time? Lady, tonight, where will you be in a year's time? Sir, tonight, where will you be in a year's time? Mother, tonight, where will you be in a year's time? Where will you be in a year's time? Oh, I have great plans. Come before winter. Oh, I'm going to spend the summer here. I'm going to go there. I'm going to have a wonderful time. Oh, I've heard them all say that. Because I've been a preacher from a boy of 13. And I'm 50 years of age tonight. And I'll tell you here and now, I've heard many a thing. Come before winter. Come before it's too late. You that's in the spring of your youth. You that's in the summer of your life. You that's in the autumn of your life. I tell you tonight, come. Come. Come before winter.
When I'm sad and heavy laden, burdened with the weight of sin, Jesus is the very friend that I need. To the blood-stained cross he points me, and he gives me peace within. Jesus is the very friend that I need. Oh, he is the best of friends, for his goodness never ends, and his love will every human thought exceed. Let me love him more Oh, Jesus is the very